All right, at 6:30, we will call tonight's Board of Zoning Appeals meeting to order. Taylor, if you could please call roll for us.
Mr. Udaly?
Here.
Mr. Hunley?
Here.
Mr. Jaskowitz?
Here.
Ms. McCoy?
Here.
Mr. Metzger?
All right, next on the agenda is the approval of minutes. This is for the Board of Zoning Appeals meeting from May 17th, 2022. Did everybody have a chance to read over the meeting minutes from that day?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Did you note any changes that need to be made? Okay. I would accept a motion to approve as submitted.
Mr. Jaskowitz? I don't know if we have a quorum in order to vote on those.
3 of us.
Here.
Sir, are you for the part for the communications?
Communications, yeah.
You can come right through here.
They're over here. Okay.
Yep.
Thanks. Thank you.
Mr. Hunley and Ms. McCoy were not present.
Okay, well, then we will table that for the next meeting. All right, next on the agenda are communications from planning and zoning, Ms. Brew.
I just wanted to share a few things. So we're still working on the zoning code draft. The goal with that is we're wrapping up some of the final comments from Planning Commission, and that's going to be in front of council one last time informally in their August work session, which is August 10th. Ma'am, are you here for the communications meeting?
Come back
Right
here.
through that door.
We need to post a sign.
Thank you. You're welcome. We're undergoing a comprehensive branding process for the village. We had a meeting last Wednesday to talk some preliminary concepts. The consultant presented us 5 concepts. The communications and marketing committee is serving as our steering committee. They're meeting tonight. But they kind of vetted out some of those concepts and gave the consultant some guidance on that. We're moving forward with the uptown planning. So we're doing a master plan for the uptown. We have a meeting tomorrow with a consultant to talk through some preliminary concepts. And then once we have more information on the direction that they got based on our last steering committee meeting, we'll convene that steering committee meeting again, just to further refine what those ideas for the uptown will be. And then tonight, Mr. Dreyer is here with us. He is our zoning inspector. So he's kind of just shadowing and overseeing the meeting, and I wanted to welcome him. And that's all I have.
Welcome, Mr. Dreyer.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Ms. Sprill. Next on the agenda is public comment. Is there anybody that is here at the meeting tonight for public comment that's not pertaining to the actual application from the library? None of you? Okay, moving on, there is no old business noted, which brings us to new business. Mr. I noticed in the Dropbox that you sent out all the notices to the neighbors and property owners and so forth.
Correct.
The
Yeah.
appropriate timeline and so forth.
Yes.
Taylor, do you have a Word version of that?
I'm sorry.
A Word version of that?
I believe they're in the Dropbox.
Maybe I got it down. Yep.
Did you find them?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay,
Sorry.
perfect.
All right, so this is for application VAR-22-3, which is situated at 305 West Main Street. There's several different parcel numbers that are noted. These are Madison County parcel numbers 04-00287.000, 04-00567.000, and also 04-00726.000. This is for a variance from section 1165.04F, development standards for permitted use, building size. The applicant is the WSA Studio. Ms. Brill, do you mind giving us a rundown of this, please?
Sure, I'll give you a kind of a brief update, and then I know the applicant's here tonight to give you a more in-depth overview. So they are in front of you tonight because they are asking for a variance for the building size requirement in the B3 district. As the code's written, a first floor square foot area can only be 5,000 square feet. They're over that in their existing building, so adding an addition on that just further compounds that nonconformity. So the library, as it currently is constructed, is just a little over 9,000 square feet. They're proposing an addition, which would be about 2,700 square feet. So their total first floor area would result in just a little over 13,000 square feet. The proposal consists of a building of that new addition, which is going to be their maker space, to give the library some more space to do some more programming and activities. But it's going to conjoin the library and then a garage that's on that property, so it'll make it one structure. This application has gone through design review board approval and has received a certificate of appropriateness for the design and aesthetics and character of that building. They approved that a few months ago. It was also in front of Planning Commission for a major site plan. It was approved with a few conditions, one of those being that the alleyway, that's not really an alleyway, it's kind of a private drive there, that the neighboring property owners just coordinate to make sure that all of that works to accommodate that new drive-through window that'll be a part of this new addition. So with that, there are about 5 things that you guys need to look at tonight, and I walked through all of those in the staff report. But ultimately, staff is recommending approval of the variance this evening.
All right, thank you. So we'll officially open the public meeting, or the public hearing rather, for this application. Anybody who is going to speak tonight in relation to this application will need to be sworn in. And Mr. Lafayette will swear you in, give you instructions. Stand up, raise your right hands.
Would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're going to provide to the Village of Plain City Board of Zoning Appeals this evening will be the truth and the whole truth?
I do.
All right, so you heard Ms. Brill give the kind of the rundown of the project that you have, or that you're proposing. Would you like to add anything to what she said and give us any more detail?
Yeah, I'll give you some more context. And Taylor, if you want to just kind of go through.
Could you state your name?
Oh, yes. Yep, sorry. My name is Paige Schmaling, and I'm here with WSA Studio. I'm the project architect on this project. So we've been working with the library over the past couple months, as well as last year, on an overall master plan study for this site. And you can see, you're familiar with the location of the library, located right on Main Street, the west of downtown, and our addition is proposed on the west side of that existing library. The goals of the addition is to really bring more resources to patrons of the library. So we are adding a drive-through pickup window for the patrons. We're adding makerspace resources, as well as a larger community room that can open up on that front lawn to activate the front lawn of that library. So you can see there the numbers that Taylor had mentioned with the existing library, about a little over 9,000 square feet, like she said, already non-conforming, and then our addition covered in orange there that connects the library with the existing garage. And you can see that new proposed drive aisle to the left. And this new addition spans those 2 lots to the left of the existing library there. So like Taylor said, we've been through the design commission. They've seen the interior layout and the intent behind the addition and what it can bring to the community, as well as the exterior views and facades that we're proposing. And these are some renderings here to give you some visuals of what this space may be. So that's kind of the gist of what we have for you guys. If you have any more questions, I can definitely try and answer. But yeah.
You guys have any questions for? So there's a limit of 5,000 square feet for a structure. Obviously this sits on 3 separate parcels. Does that change the number of square feet that are permitted? I mean, what would you be allowed 5,000 on each one of these parcels if they were large enough to accommodate them?
No, a couple things with that. One, it's an addition on an existing building, so it's adding to the square foot area of that building on that property. Because the lots are adjoining there and they're crossing over property lines because they own all of the properties, kind of almost just view them as not being there, and then would just look at it as like one large parcel. So no, they wouldn't get extra, limits on that based on having more than one parcel.
2 other questions. One you may not know the answer to, but the square footage of the old elementary school. Do you have any idea what the first floor square footage of that parcel
I
is?
am unsure, but that is actually zoned in the RS3.
So it's a different
town.
zoning district.
Yes.
Okay. With the proposed, and I know that we're obviously operating under current regulations, but with the proposed changes to the zoning code, would there be any lifting of restrictions that we're talking about in this particular area, or any expected? Obviously, you don't have a crystal ball, but you
Right.
kind of got to.
We don't have any first floor area restrictions written in the new code. The intent of it in the existing code is to build vertically in the uptown, so you don't have just one large building that, is very expensive, that you are getting vertical height. So the only thing we've done in the new code is regulated on the lot size, and by limiting the lot size and setbacks and things of that sort, it kind of limits how large a building can be. So that's kind of where this sort of requirement would be reflected in the new code.
So, and obviously their property, the parcel there, kind of on the fringe between the school across the street, and then the downtown further to the east. What have been the proposed boundaries that have been set for the new uptown type area? Does it include the library, does it include the school?
So the extent of the Uptown Historic District will remain the same as it is today. Majority of that will be in the Uptown District. So the library would remain in the Uptown District and the Uptown Historic boundaries. The school, however, will remain in the Uptown Historic District, but will be zoned in a traditional neighborhood.
You guys have any other follow-up questions?
Got 2. On the site plan that you're showing, we're showing one-way signs at the exit saying do not enter, but at the entrance, I think there should be a one-way sign letting people know that you can only go one way in that direction. And then 2, what's drainage? What are we doing for the drainage? Because we're curbing everything. So that means all the drainage will be, is that what 2 and 3 are? Those are catch basins? I'm on sheet C 3.0.
Yes, we are currently looking into as far as going to draining first, we're working with the civil engineer to look into the best way to handle that, whether that is an underground retention or if it's another solution, but we are still looking into that, but that will be definitely addressed.
Okay.
And then, yes, agreed on the signage, the fact that there is, will be signage on either end of the alley will be important in the traffic flow.
And just to interrupt just for a second, so the Board of Zoning Appeals is obviously hearing the application for a variance so that they can proceed with the project. Ms. Brill, what would be the next step for them if they were granted approval through BZA? What would be the next step? They have to go through planning and zoning. Is there a site plan?
They already have.
Okay, and the site plan has already been approved or vetted out?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, and any sort of civil engineering work that's to be done on the site would get reviewed by our engineer in-house. Given that nothing alters the site plan substantially, it wouldn't come back in front of a board for a change or a modification. If it did, it would probably come back to planning commission, but that would be something that we look at later on, if that requirement is met and it changes how the site's going to be laid out. Other than that, after all of these approvals, they would be permitted to go ahead and get a zoning permit as well as the building permit. That would be the next steps.
Okay.
The lot to the west, that 2-story wood house, I think they park next to that wood garage that's back there. Like they come off to the side. I've been, because
You're talking about this house?
Yeah, I think they have gravel parking in here and back in here, I think.
Yes, and
We may have to look at that because of the curb.
they have a driveway on the other side of the house as
Yeah.
well. They have a driveway on the other side of the house, and that property owner is aware of what's going on, and part of the conditional approval from planning commission was that the property owners work together to resolve how that alley will be treated.
Just wanted to bring that up because we park there a lot for the parade. And I know what goes on through there. Usually that gravel lot that you guys are gonna have the markers, and that's where I usually park, so. I like the addition. I like what they're gonna do, and I think it's gonna provide lots of opportunity for the library to do more programs than they can right now.
All right.
So let me clarify. So Jim, what you brought up was the curbs, and it's already, so do we need to consider that? Like, Ms. Brill, you spoke that it would have to go back to the board, the design board?
Go ahead.
So I just want a clarification, since we brought up a few, like Jim brought up a few concerns. So therefore, if those need to be addressed and we do give approval, then where does it go if there needs to be designed differently for the curbs or the retention?
Sure, so the only reason it would come back to this board is if they needed a variance for something else.
Okay.
If the site plan changes, again, substantially, a few minor changes.
And that's
like-
in-house engineer with them?
Correct, yes. So some of it, we have administrative approval and can approve things, like I said, as long as the site plan from what is proposed isn't substantially changed.
Okay.
If they were going to change, the orientation of the building and change how it's gonna look, or where that drive aisle came in through, other than, where it's gonna be curved, how wide, things like that, it would need to go back to planning commission for site plan
Okay.
approval. But I'm envisioning that based off of all the conversations that we've had, it probably is just gonna be administrative approval at this point. But that would be where it would go if something were to change.
But the primary focus of BZA tonight is to evaluate whether the area variance
Mhm.
is appropriate or not appropriate for the application for the area. We're gonna go through the list of items.
Yeah, I apologize, I can't take my engineer hat off.
Understood. And I, for one, appreciate the background knowledge base that you have that I don't have. So did you have anything else, Ms. McCoy?
No, I'm
Did you have anything else you had to add? Not ask. So I would like to, ma'am, if you'd like, you can have a seat. If you need to stand back up so you can, talk in the microphone. If that's what we need to ask follow-up questions, we'll ask you to stand back.
Okay, thank you.
How do you spell your last name? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's SCHMELING.
I had it right, it's not an extra L. I had an extra L in there, my bad.
Okay, so I'm just gonna read through, this is all in the staff report that Ms. Gill provided to us, but this kind of walks us through each of the items that we need to look at. So the variance findings, it says a variance request may be approved upon determination of the following 5 conditions in section 113805 C3 of the codified ordinance. The BZA may impose reasonable conditions if an approval motion is made. The text below each numbered standard represents staff's explanation as to how the standard has or has not been made. So Ms. Brill has obviously come through the application. She has weighed that against the actual code and kind of spelled things out for us. So I'm going to walk through those, but I mean, if you have any thoughts as we go through those, any questions as we go through those, please, we'll stop up after every one of them and talk through it as much as that we need to. So this is again under 1138.05, and this is under C3. And this is 3A, and that would be that the said area variance will not be contrary to public interest. Ms. Brill noted that the overall character of the neighborhood and the surrounding area will not be negatively impacted by the addition. The purpose of the proposed addition is to expand the capabilities and services that the library can provide to residents. So I personally would agree with what she's saying as far as the overall character of the neighborhood would fit in. It's obviously already being utilized as a public library. They're expanding, trying to offer additional space and services. So I don't believe that the variance being in excess of 5,000 square feet is contrary to public interest.
I agree with that.
I also agree with that.
I agree.
Letter B, or number 2 on the sheet, says that the said area variance is justified due to special conditions. As the zoning text is written, any building within the B3 district may have a maximum first floor square footage area of 5,000 square feet. The existing building is non-conforming in that it is already over the maximum square footage allowance. As such, any proposed change constitutes a variance. In order to complete the addition, a variance is justified. Again, I do agree with what she has said here. The variance is justified, obviously lower than 5,000 square feet because it's already in an existing non-conforming area. So I believe that one is met. Thoughts?
Yeah, I agree.
I agree too.
The special condition is already non-conforming, so they're adding on to it. And it's not, I don't think it's a hindrance to the area either. I mean, what they're adding on is not, doesn't go against what the purpose of what that original building is.
All right, and so under C, or number 3 on the sheet, it says that the literal enforcement of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties. The factors to be considered and weighed in determining whether practical difficulties have been encountered shall include, but not be limited to, the following. Whether there can be any beneficial use of the property without a variance. Ms. Brill's comment is, it could be argued that the property has beneficial use without the variance because the current condition is existing non-conforming. The current use and structure could persist as it is unless substantially altered. So again, I would agree with that. Obviously, it's already being utilized daily as a library. So it does have a beneficial use there. Obviously, they're looking to always expand the offering to the community. So what is the beneficial use? I guess it becomes a matter of us gauging, how much more beneficial, or how less beneficial could it be with either an approval or a denial. So in my opinion, we're talking about size. Obviously, 5,000 square feet is the limit. They're already at 9, they want to go to 13. That's really the whole meat and potatoes of what we're talking about. And we need to decide if more than doubling and almost tripling the allowable square footage is appropriate or not. So I don't know, in regards to A here, do you guys have an opinion that can the property still be beneficial in its current condition? If we don't approve it, so.
Is there anything being used in that space right now?
Well, there is a garage on the back end of the property that they use for storage, I believe.
There's community gardens, which, well, they're not touching the garage. With the space that they're taking up, it would be part of the community gardens that are out there now. And so, is that space beneficial without the building? Yeah, it can be. So, but again, saying no to any one of these doesn't mean we say no to the variance. It's just stating the facts that are there.
And I'm glad that you pointed that out because, while we're weighing all 5 of these and any of the sub-items in here, no one of these things would, eliminate the project going forward. It's kind of a totality of all of it, and we weigh it all together. So thanks for mentioning that, Jim. Did that answer your question?
It does.
Yeah.
So would that be gone then, the community garden?
Well, it looks like they're going to put gardens back in there. I'm not too sure what the RB is, or R8. Again, got old eyes.
Man, what is the answer? You're going to maintain the community gardens that are there, maybe reposition them, but they're going to be still there.
Yes, that's correct. Whether that be 2 or 4, it's undecided, but we're able to use that front lawn still as the library has included with some activities like the community garden.
So then it sounds like the use, the beneficial use that it has now is going to still be there, so.
Yeah, it looks like they'll still have some gardens in space. It's just taking away some of it, but that's, again, they're not using the whole space for the gardens right now anyway. Right, so.
The next item, under item, this is B on the sheet, but it's actually number 3, right?
3B.
C32, thank you. C32, it says whether the variance is substantial. The proposal is to add 2,756 square feet of building space to the existing library. Given the nonconformity of the existing building and what the proposal includes, the variance request is substantial. Obviously, you're talking about adding nearly half of what the maximum is, and we're talking about going a total of 8,000 square feet, 8,000 and some odd square feet over the maximum. So yes, it is substantial. I don't think there's any argument whether it's substantial or not.
I agree with that.
Pardon?
I agree with that.
Whether the essential character, this would be under 3, whether the essential character would be substantially altered or whether adjoining properties would suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance. Ms. Brill noted that it could be argued that the neighboring property, 321 West Main Street, would be affected by the extended structure of the addition. However, that property would also benefit from the renovated alleyway. The site plan includes provisions for aesthetically pleasing exterior elements to the addition that would complement the existing building. Those things are probably true. So this is, I guess, maybe raises another question I think that Jim kind of touched on. Is this going to, is there going to be a public alleyway that's going to be maintained?
It's not public, it's the parcel, so it looks like an alleyway and you wouldn't know the wiser if you're driving through, but it's owned by, where it sits right now, it's partially owned by the library, partially owned by the property owner to the west.
To the west.
Majority of it sits on the property in which the library.
But their
owns.
improvements are only gonna be on the property that they actually own though. The alleyway improvements, or is it gonna be, you said.
Correct. Correct, so what they're doing is only gonna be on their property.
Right, so part of the alleyway that's owned by the other property owners to the west would remain in its, similar condition.
Correct. The only nuance there is, I believe that they're improving that curb cut. So instead of it just being kind of gravel, they're gonna widen it and pave the whole way through. So what is gravel there and a little sliver that's on that other property will persist unless that property owner does something with it, but, all of their improvements will be on their site.
So, I mean, I guess, to me, the adjoining properties, if they would suffer a substantial detriment as a result of variance, I mean, I guess we can argue aesthetics and so forth. I mean, I can look at this building and say, it's gonna be an obvious improvement to what's already there. What is an existing alleyway that people, pass through, I mean, not regularly, but I mean, anybody, Jim said that we will pass through that alley to park for a parade. That might get restricted to some degree in the future. I mean, it's gonna be the library's property where they're gonna have a drop-off window. That's probably gonna be the main use of that alleyway, right? Is to drop off books in that window.
Yep.
So I guess you could make arguments there that, they could even lose a little bit of right, so to speak, to that property, or the enjoyment of the right to that property. However, they've been notified they're not here. So to me, without them speaking against it, my opinion is that it creates an improvement in the area, with the addition itself and the improvements to the alley, my personal opinion. So if they're not here to talk against it, I'd like to hear what you guys say. They were notified and had an opportunity to come. You haven't had any other communications from anybody?
No, I have not, and when this application first came to fruition, I did speak with that property owner, and he seemed receptive to the idea, and I can't speak.
Is it a rental
for him.
property, do you know?
It's owned by a landlord in the area, yes.
Yeah, if you look on the front page, part of the new drive, it looks like would be in that property. I'm sure they've got lots of good agreements, and that's not for us. That's for them to be able to work that out, but that's what it looks like. That part of that, like you said, Ms. Brill, that part of the drive at the beginning will be on both, but it's not taking away access from their property.
Anything else regarding that one? No. Moving on to number 4, or letter D on our sheet, whether the variance would adversely affect the delivery of governmental services, as an example, water, sewer, garbage, mail, so on and so forth. The variance would have no bearing on the delivery of governmental services. The address would remain the same, and the alley would be renovated to accommodate vehicular traffic. Don't disagree.
And I'm sure the library will take care of the maintenance on that and any snow removal and everything else. I'm assuming that's what's, because they probably take care of their own parking lot already.
So it'd be private property.
Yeah.
Moving on to number 5, or letter E, whether the property owner purchased the property with the knowledge of the zoning restriction. Ms. Brill noted that the applicant noted they did not have knowledge of the zoning restriction prior to purchasing the property. When was the library constructed? Was it 92? Is that what I read somewhere else? Any idea?
Do I need to be sworn in for that?
No.
The
original building was finished in late '79 and opened in '80, and then there was an addition that opened in '96.
96. Any thoughts on that one from the three of you? And then finally, number 6, or letter F on our sheet, whether the property owner's predicament feasibly can be obviated through some method other than a variance. Ms. Brill noted, in order to accommodate the addition, request for the variance is the only way forward. The alternative would be to not pursue the addition and leave the lot as is. Yeah, I mean, they either, I guess, get satisfied with the size of their facility and their offerings, or as Ms. Brill said, they try to go vertical, which I'm not sure is feasible probably in any realm, to go vertical with the existing library, to limit the square footage that's allowed. So, I mean, to me, the only way to go forward with it is through a variance. I don't think it's reasonable. I think we should go a different direction. Any thoughts there? Letter D, or number 4 on our sheet, that the spirit of the zoning ordinance will be observed and substantial justice done if the area variance is granted. Ms. Brill noted that the spirit of the limitation on first floor area in the B3 district is a means of bulk control. Bulk control is a common element in zoning text and refers to the size and shape of buildings, the physical relationship of their exterior walls or location to lot lines and other buildings, and all open space is required in connection with a building. Limiting the first floor massing speaks to more of the context of a traditional downtown commercial development where building vertical is encouraged. Any thoughts on Ms. Brill's comments in that particular item, letter D?
To me, I don't think you want to go up in this situation. They have the land. They're trying to use that space as best they can. And so I don't see, the spirit of it is, yes, we want to go vertical, but I think in this case, that's not practical for them to be able to do that. I just don't see that. And what's practical for them to expand is out on one level, because if you try to take that, our existing, and make it a 2-story, that's a huge ask for them to do, to change to that. Whereas this meets, I think, the community needs. And I think in the best interest, we've got the zoning ordinance in the spirit of the law, but yeah, sometimes you got to put on the practical hat and go, is that practical in this situation? I don't think it is.
And the renderings, I mean, are definitely aesthetically pleasing, and I think going up would probably take away from the aesthetics of that area.
No, I was looking at the picture to see if they did want to expand in the future, if it was possible to go vertical with the expansion. But it looks like the expansion will be similar to how the rest of the building currently is.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if they wanted to, expand, I mean, they would obviously have to buy more property if they're gonna expand, on that, on that level, right? I mean, they would have to expand, out that way. And then, where would lines get drawn? We're talking about being 13,000 square feet, 8,000 square feet over the existing zoning code, requirements or limitations. If they were to purchase, say, the property to the west or even to the east, whatnot, now you're talking, 17, 18, 20,000 square feet, somewhere, you probably need to draw a line in the sand that says, it's too far. What is that line? Out in the zoning code, it says 5,000 square feet. for somebody else to weigh in on if there's a variance request at some point in the future, but I agree with what you're saying, going out seems to be the most logical, practical.
Well, the new space, it looks like it fits there. It's not like it was, the renderings that they've applied and showed us, it fits well. It's not like you've got a 2-story structure next to a 1-story, and they've done well to fit the location.
And I agree, and that's what I said kind of earlier, that their property is kind of on the fringe of what is, considered that uptown district, and then, obviously, I don't know where the B3, if that changes with the zoning code or whatnot, but it just seems that they're on the fringe, and like, speaking of what you just said, if they were to take and put that in the middle of existing 2 or 3 or 4
Yep.
structure buildings, it would be odd. This being on the fringe seems to make sense. Is that to say that somebody couldn't come in and build 3 or 4-story structure, buildings in that area? I mean, they've done it in Dublin, they've done it in other places. I'm certain it's possible, and they could. But I mean, I guess if I look at the downtown, there's obviously some existing buildings that are at 3 or 4-story structures. And then you've got some buildings in between those, i.e., local plaza is kind of, right in the middle of that. It's a 1-story structure in the middle of larger 2 or 3-story buildings. So this one being on the fringe to me doesn't take away from the area. To me, it's almost that buffer back out to that traditional residential that is going into, from the east to the west. You're coming out of the uptown area. You see that it's obviously a very nice facility, and it's kind of that transition or that buffer as it's going into that next area. For me, that's kind of how I see it. And then conversely, you're coming out of that residential area, and you see a nice commercial building such as this, and before you transition into the downtown or the uptown area. So to me, it's kind of a good transition.
When I sat on the building review board, I always wondered why the library was in the historic district anyway, because you could actually take that line straight across on the north side of Maine, go to where that alley is on Mechanic Street, and then come back down that direction, because the library really is not historic.
You're talking basically right.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, they could have done that, and that's because either one of those buildings, the building I think it's 321 or 312, where it's right next to the library. I don't think that's historic either, but it's how the lines were drawn years ago. But someone could argue that, and if that's the case, then the whole historic thing just goes out the window. So I don't think it needs to be adhered to any of that historic stuff, personally. If that would have been the case, they would have done that when they first did the renovations of this building years ago. And it was brought up, I don't think.
Did you have anything to add? Then the last factor or condition that we have to weigh in is that the variance, this is letter E or number 5 on our sheet, but the variance is based on need, not convenience or profit. Ms. Brill noted in order to complete the addition on the existing non-conforming building, a variance is required. So it's based on the need to offer additional services and space to the community. Convenience, I don't think is a factor. Profit, I don't even think that the library is a for-profit entity, right? I mean, we pay taxes to you, so yeah, I don't think profit or convenience is really relevant to me. Thoughts?
I agree with what you said.
So the Planning and Zoning Department has offered a recommendation, and it says after review and consideration, the Planning and Zoning Department recommends approval of the requested variance as submitted. I think, again, we go back to, I don't know what I said a few minutes ago, is really the only thing that we're talking about is not really about whether the building fits in with, the area, what the character and, the use and all these things are, but are we willing to allow that substantial of a variance from 5,000 to 13,000 square feet. And really, that sounds like a lot, but it's already, you know, over 9,000 square feet as it is. So we're talking about adding 2,000 to the existing structure. You know, 8,000 square feet over sounds like a lot, but it's already almost twice as much as what it's supposed to be. That does the addition of 2,000 square feet, really alter or change, what's already existing. Obviously, it's gonna alter the appearance, it's gonna alter the building, but to me, 2,000 square feet added on to the east side of this building. And that counts the garage, is that correct? The 2,000 square feet counts the garage that's already standing on the property?
The 13 counts it, so the 13 is the total lot coverage.
Yeah.
So it's the 9,600 plus 1,000 for the garage, plus our 2,000 addition.
So to walk through, where we're at, so we would first need to adopt the finding of fact. Paul, I think, has been kind of working through or typing as we've been going. Yes.
I will slow down in the future.
He is going, or hopefully has captured most of what we've said or thought or discussed.
All right.
And then we will vote to adopt the finding of fact as he will give him a few minutes to finish typing that up and preparing it. I think Ms. Brill will put it up on the screen for us. We'll go through and read that, make any changes as we need to. We'll adopt the finding of fact. Following the adoption of the finding of fact, we will then vote whether to approve or deny the request. So just approving finding of fact doesn't do anything, it's just stating, hey, we've captured the conversation accurately. And then we'll vote, then, or if there's a motion to approve or deny, we'll vote.
Let me see.
Ms. Schmeling, just if you could correct me on something, what's your position with your,
Definition,
yeah, what's
project architect.
project architect? I almost had it right. Sometimes I type so quick that I kind of run over words on it. I think I got heard that right, but I didn't.
All good.
So I had it almost right.
Paul, for a matter
I
of
think I'm done.
housekeeping, do we need to close the public hearing?
Yes, sir.
So at this time, we'll consider the public hearing closed. Does there need to be a motion to close the public hearing?
I motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Mr. Udaley?
Yes.
Mr. Hunley?
Yes.
Mr. Jaskowitz? Ms. McClure?
Yes.
All right, Taylor, coming up. so I was already had
More
momentum.
than you were warming up.
Had momentum. Yeah, Taylor, the only printer just is subheadings like under that C1, C3, C1 through 3 or 5. It's just little subheadings, a little goofy. Maybe if you could get that. Autocorrect doesn't like me. We've had some fights today over that. I got a brief that I just wrote that was 18 pages and freaking subheadings were getting goofy on me.
Oh, or sometimes it screws those.
I was like, all of a sudden I'm like, all right, you subheading, and they hit enter, and all of a sudden it's like, what?
And if you throw graphics in or photos, oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Oh,
Just
that's
misses.
all out of whack.
I give it to our marketing people, say put that in.
All right, just let me know and I'll slowly scroll through
Can you guys see the screws so she can scroll through?
It's there too, so if you don't want to look long.
I think there was one blank in there. I'm sorry. When you were describing the zoning district for the elementary school.
Okay.
Must be getting good at writing his name. It's already in your dictionary, probably.
No. It's all hand. Craftsman.
motion to approve or adopt the
Findings of facts.
Thank you. The findings of fact as submitted, as shown.
Okay, second?
Mr. Udaly?
Yes.
Mr. Hunley?
Yes.
Mr. Jaskowitz?
Yes.
Ms. McCoy?
Yes.
You need a motion to approve the variance.
Next step. Anybody like to make a motion to approve or disapprove the variance application as submitted?
Motion to approve the variance 22, or -22-3?
Second.
Mr. Udaly?
Yes.
Mr. Huntley?
Yes.
Mr. Jaskowitz?
Yes.
Ms. McCoy?
Yes.
On to the next step. To round out our agenda for the night, there is a discussion item or an opportunity for discussion. Does anybody have anything that they need to or want to discuss as it relates to BZA?
If we have a meeting in August or September, can we move it to 7:30 or 7? I have volleyball games Mondays and Wednesdays and practices Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. So if we can move it to later, I can adjust my schedule to a little bit earlier. But I can't get any earlier. It's probably 6. I can't get out of there before 6:30, I don't think.
At our discretion.
It's at your discretion whenever you notice the hearings. Because with this board, it's different than having like council. Council, they have to have regularly scheduled meetings that have to be set. The hearings, as long as the notices go out notifying the adjacent property owners and the applicant of when and where to be there, it's fine.
And it would depend on what day it is too. If I don't have a game or something, I can move it around. But if we could, I'd appreciate it.
Ms. Brill, could you
Yeah,
just
council's
make
gonna be
a
hard
kind
for
of
me
a
to do.
mental note? So if there is a meeting there that we can
I'll become a ghost of the phone.
adjust, I guess if the application comes in and we know that he's unavailable, it might make sense to move back to 6:30 to 7 or 7:30. So
Okay.
I can assure there's a quorum.
Yes. I will make a note on my calendar to send you an email when the application deadlines hit. If I have something, and then we can decide whether or not we're gonna push that time.
Yeah, I've already got my schedule, so
Okay.
yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously you guys send out notices, well in advance. I mean, you probably send them out, 20 days? I mean, they have to receive them 15 days. earlier.
15, but our application deadline is like 20 days in advance. So if I send you that email then and you get back to me ASAP, I'll have enough time to adjust
I
everything.
appreciate that.
All right, anything else? Motion to adjourn.